The first time I knew something was wrong wasn't when I found the text messages. It wasn't when I heard the voicemail that would later haunt me in my sleep. No, the first time I knew my world was about to fall apart was the moment she didn't notice. I'm not sure if that makes any sense, but let me explain. Her name is Claire, and for the last 7 years, I had believed I knew her better than I knew myself. But that evening, it was all ripped away. It happened on a Tuesday, nothing special about that day, just like nothing special about the night. The house was quiet, almost too quiet. The kind of stillness that sits heavy in the air, like you're waiting for a storm to pass. I don't remember exactly what I was doing, but I remember that I wasn't expecting anything unusual. I had come home from work, dropped my bag by the door, and started heating up leftovers from dinner the night before. Claire was supposed to be home soon, but she hadn't called yet. She always calls if she's going to be late. But on this night, no call came. I tried to distract myself with mindless scrolling on my phone. I even put on some music, something instrumental to fill the silence. But I felt off. There was a nagging sense that I couldn't shake. After about an hour, I found myself standing in the kitchen, staring at the microwave as it counted down the seconds. Suddenly, I heard a car pull into the driveway. I glanced out the window, expecting to see Claire's familiar sedan. But instead, I saw a black SUV I didn't recognize. I froze. I didn't know what it meant, but I knew in that moment, before the door even opened, that something was changing. The door opened with a soft creak, and Claire stepped inside, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor. But what caught me off guard wasn't her presence. It was the way she was acting. She was laughing. Not a happy laugh, but that soft, almost nervous laugh she always did when she felt awkward. When she was caught off guard. "Hey, babe," she greeted me brightly, her voice a little too high-pitched. "Sorry I'm late. I was just helping a friend out with something. Traffic was a nightmare, you know?" But I didn't buy it. I had seen that look before, the one that tells you someone is trying to sell you a lie. "You were helping a friend out?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. "Yeah, a work thing," she replied quickly. Her eyes darted toward the kitchen, avoiding mine. I nodded, but didn't say anything. Instead, I just watched her for a moment as she set her purse down and went to the fridge. She opened it, stared at it blankly, and then closed it without taking anything out. I could tell she was stalling. It was like she didn't want to look at me. And that's when it hit me. There was something missing. She didn't notice. She didn't notice that her phone was still lying on the kitchen counter, screen face up. I don't even know why I looked at it. Maybe it was just instinct. Maybe it was the unease that had been creeping up on me all evening. But as soon as my eyes landed on that screen, I saw the name. Lucas. I don't know why, but something about that name struck me. I had never heard of anyone named Lucas before. Not a coworker, not a friend, not even a distant acquaintance. But there it was, clear as day. "Hey, I'll see you later, right? I can't wait for tonight. Don't forget what we talked about." I felt the blood drain from my face. I didn't want to look at it. I didn't want to know. But I couldn't look away. My heart started racing. And for the first time in years, I felt the panic rise in my chest like a tidal wave. Claire's voice broke through my thoughts. "Are you okay, hon?" She had turned back to look at me, that nervous laugh still hanging in the air. But it was hollow. It didn't reach her eyes. I stood there for a moment longer than I should have, staring at her phone. Her phone that was now in my hands. "I didn't know you had a Lucas in your life," I said, my voice quiet but firm. The room fell silent. Claire's face paled instantly, and she looked like a deer caught in headlights. She didn't answer me right away. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Her eyes flickered from me to the phone in my hand, and back to me. What are you talking about?" she asked, her voice suddenly soft, almost too soft. "That's just a colleague. He's a new client I'm working with for the campaign. He's harmless." I wanted to believe her. I really did. But something about the way she said it, the way she couldn't meet my gaze, made the words feel like they were crumbling under the weight of the truth. I wanted to ask her about the message. I wanted to confront her right there and then. But the doubt had already taken root in my mind. I had never felt this sick to my stomach in my life. And it was all because of one text, one simple message. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. "I see." It was the first lie I ever told her. I didn't say anything else. I didn't want to. What was there to say? The doubt was already planted. And from that moment, I couldn't stop thinking about that name. Lucas. But I wasn't done. Not yet. There was something bigger happening. Something that I couldn't yet see, but I would soon. And when I found it, everything would change. The days that followed felt like they were stretching out endlessly. Every time Claire came home, I'd feel a little more like a stranger in my own house. It wasn't just the lingering tension, it was the small things. The way she was always busy, now, or the way she seemed to need more space than she used to. I'd find myself staring at her, wondering if I really knew her at all anymore. The worst part was that she seemed like she had no idea that anything was wrong. Her laughter still sounded the same. Her smile still had that warmth, but the cracks were growing. The strange thing was, I couldn't decide if I wanted to confront her or just let it go. The last time I brought up Lucas, she acted like it was nothing. But that name still haunted me, and the more I tried to ignore it, the worse it got. A week later, I got an email. It wasn't from anyone I knew. It was just a short message, no subject, no signature. I hope you're not blind to what's going on. I don't want to be the one to tell you, but you should know. My heart dropped into my stomach. There was no name, no way to trace who it came from, but I knew it was meant for me. The message felt like a warning, a glimpse into something I wasn't supposed to see. But what was going on? Was it Claire? Was she really hiding something? Or was this some sick joke? I spent the next few days spiraling. I checked Claire's phone again. I knew I shouldn't, but I couldn't stop myself. This time, there was no message from Lucas, but something else caught my eye, a calendar entry. Just a date and time, 8 p.m., Hotel Bellevue. I felt sick to my stomach. The hotel was on the outskirts of town. No reason for Claire to go there unless she was meeting someone. My mind started racing, but I still didn't want to believe it. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe it was just a coincidence. But that nagging feeling didn't go away. I found myself following her the next day. I told myself it was the only way to get the truth. If I didn't do this, I'd never be able to move forward. I waited until she left for her meeting, grabbed my keys, and quietly followed her car from a distance. It felt like the longest drive of my life. But there she was, turning into the parking lot of Hotel Bellevue. My pulse quickened. The last place I wanted to be was here, spying on my wife, but it was too late to turn back now. I parked a few spaces down, watching as Claire stepped out of the car, her heels clicking on the pavement as she walked toward the hotel entrance. I stayed in the car, my hands gripping the steering wheel, my mind racing with 1,000 different thoughts. The worst part was the dread building up inside me. What was I going to do if she was really seeing someone else? What could I possibly say to her if I caught her in the act? I kept telling myself I was just being paranoid, but deep down, I knew the truth had been hiding in plain sight. I had just refused to see it. The door to the hotel opened, and Claire walked inside. For a moment, I couldn't move. I didn't know what I was expecting, but this wasn't it. She didn't look back, didn't even hesitate. She just walked in, like it was any other day. I sat there, watching the door, willing myself to move. But I couldn't. The idea of confronting her, of tearing down the last shred of trust we had, was unbearable. And yet, the longer I waited, the more the silence screamed in my ears. My phone buzzed, breaking the stillness. A new text message. It was from an unknown number. You know what's going on. Don't waste your time anymore. She's not coming back tonight. I stared at the message, my hands shaking. The words felt like a punch to the gut. I had to know. I took a deep breath, stepped out of the car, and made my way to the entrance of the hotel. Each step felt like it was dragging me into a nightmare I wasn't ready to face. I didn't know what I was hoping for. Maybe I thought I'd walk in and find Claire sitting at the lobby, casually texting some work contact or meeting a client. Maybe I thought she'd be laughing with a friend. But when I stepped through the glass doors of the hotel, the smell of stale perfume and carpet cleaner hit me, and all I could think about was the sinking feeling in my stomach. I couldn't shake the thought that I was about to witness something I wouldn't be able to forget. The lobby was quiet, except for the low murmur of a conversation at the front desk. I glanced around, scanning for any sign of Claire. But there was nothing. I had no plan, no idea what to do next. My eyes landed on the hotel directory, and, without thinking, I started walking toward it. I wasn't even sure what I was hoping to find there. A room number? A name? Some way to piece together the puzzle? I was moving on autopilot. My brain was screaming at me to turn around, to leave before I saw something that would break me. But I couldn't. Not after everything. I found the elevator and pressed the button for the second floor. My heart was racing. The seconds felt like hours as I stood there, waiting, my mind replaying that message, the text, the calendar entry. What was she doing here? Was it really just work? Or was there something more I wasn't ready to face? The elevator doors opened with a soft chime, and I stepped inside. The ride up felt too short, like fate was playing with me, forcing me to make a decision faster than I was ready for. When the doors opened again, I took a deep breath, and for the first time, I felt the full weight of what I was about to do. I walked down the hallway, trying to keep my steps quiet. There was a dull hum of voices from behind the walls, muffled conversations, but I didn't pay attention. My eyes were fixed ahead, on the room numbers. I reached the one I had been dreading. Room 208. I stood there for a moment, my hand hovering over the door. I didn't want to knock, didn't want to announce myself. But I couldn't stand the uncertainty. I needed to know. My hand shook as I reached into my pocket for my phone. I opened the camera app, taking a quick picture of the door number. I didn't know why. Maybe just to have something tangible, something real to hold on to in case I needed it later. But then I heard it. The sound of laughter. It was unmistakable. Claire's laughter. The one I had grown so familiar with. But there was something else in it. Something different. It wasn't just a happy laugh. It was the sound of someone who was enjoying themselves. More than I had heard her in months. My breath caught in my throat, and for a moment, I couldn't move. I had imagined this, right? She was just talking to someone. Maybe it was business. Maybe it was just casual. But I couldn't shake the thought that something was off. The door creaked open slightly, just enough for me to catch a glimpse of what was inside. Claire was there, but she wasn't alone. And my stomach dropped. I could barely breathe. My body was frozen in place, but my mind was racing, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. Claire was sitting at the edge of the bed, laughing, but it wasn't just the laughter. It was the way she was leaning in, the way she was so close to the man beside her, the way her hand was resting on his arm, her fingers lightly tracing the fabric of his shirt. It was too intimate, too familiar. I couldn't make out the man's face at first, but when he turned slightly to the side, I saw him clearly for the first time. It wasn't just some random guy from work, as Claire had claimed. It was Lucas, the same Lucas from the text message. My heart slammed against my ribs. My throat went dry. Everything around me seemed to fade, the world turning into a dull, muffled sound, like I was underwater. I couldn't move. I wanted to shout, to burst in and demand answers, but I was rooted to the spot, unable to speak, unable to take another step. Lucas was saying something, his voice too low for me to hear, but the way Claire responded made it clear. She wasn't pulling away. She wasn't shocked to see him. She wasn't pushing him off. Instead, she smiled, a smile I had never seen before, a smile that was filled with something I couldn't identify, something that wasn't for me. I didn't know how long I stood there, watching them, but eventually, Claire's voice broke through the fog in my mind. "Are you sure he won't find out?" she asked softly, her words almost a whisper, but I could still hear the edge of excitement in her tone. Lucas leaned in, his voice just as quiet. "He won't. We're careful. Don't worry." I felt a sharp pain in my chest. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run in there and confront them both, but my legs wouldn't move. It was as if my whole body was paralyzed, caught in the web of confusion and betrayal. Claire's eyes fluttered closed, and she leaned forward, her lips just inches from Lucas's. They were about to kiss. It was the moment everything changed. The door, which had been slightly ajar, creaked as someone from the inside pushed it open even further. That sound snapped me out of my trance. I wasn't sure if they heard it, but the door swung open wide enough for me to step back, my heart racing, my mind screaming at me to get out of there. I took a few steps backward, my head spinning, still in shock. I couldn't believe what I had just seen. I didn't want to believe it. How could she do this? How could she, my Claire, be here with him? I turned, my feet heavy, dragging me away from the hotel room. I didn't know where I was going, didn't care anymore. I just needed to get away, to escape the suffocating realization that everything I had known about my marriage, about Claire, had been a lie. But as I stepped toward the elevator, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I didn't want to look at it. I knew what it was. I knew who it was. But I couldn't resist. The message was from an unknown number. "You saw them. Now you know. It's time to stop pretending." I clenched my jaw, staring at the words. It was like someone was pulling the strings, orchestrating this whole thing. But who? Why? I was standing in the elevator, the doors closing, when another text came in. "She's been hiding it for months. Don't believe anything she says. She's not the woman you think she is." The words echoed in my head, And for the first time, I felt a cold clarity settle over me. I wasn't just a bystander in this story. I was being played, and I wasn't going to let it continue. The ride home was a blur. My mind was spinning, replaying the image of Claire and Lucas over and over. Like a broken record, I couldn't stop. Every turn felt like it took longer than it should, and yet, when I finally pulled into the driveway, the world seemed to slow down. I had 1,000 questions, but the one that kept gnawing at me was, why? Why had she done this? Why had she lied? I walked through the door and dropped my keys onto the table. I expected her to be home already, but the house was eerily quiet. I checked the clock. She should have been back by now. My gut twisted with a fresh wave of anxiety. I wanted to believe that maybe it was a mistake, that maybe I hadn't seen what I thought I saw. But deep down, I knew I couldn't ignore the truth any longer. A few minutes later, I heard the door open. Her footsteps were light, almost hesitant. When she stepped inside, I turned toward her. Claire froze in the doorway when she saw me standing there, the weight of the silence between us pressing down like a heavy fog. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Hey, Jon, you're home early." I didn't say anything at first. I just stood there, watching her. The woman I had once known so well now felt like a stranger. "Where were you tonight, Claire?" I finally asked, my voice steady, though my heart was hammering in my chest. Her eyes flickered for a brief moment, but she quickly masked it with that same false smile. "I told you work. You know how it is." "Is that where you were?" I asked, taking a step closer. "Or were you with him?" Her face went pale. For the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. I could see her scrambling, trying to think of an excuse, but none came. "Jon, I can explain," she started, her voice faltering. But I couldn't listen anymore. I didn't want to hear the excuses, the lies. I had seen enough. "I don't need an explanation," I said, my voice quiet but firm. "I saw you. I saw everything." Claire took a step back, her face now flushed with panic. "You don't understand. It's not what you think." I shook my head. Don't try to tell me it's not what I think. I watched you with him, Claire. I heard what you said." The words felt like daggers as they left my mouth, but I couldn't stop myself. "I'm not blind. I know what's been going on." Her expression faltered, and for the first time, I saw the cracks in her perfect facade. She looked defeated, like the weight of the truth was finally catching up with her. She opened her mouth, then closed it again, as if she was trying to find the right words, but there was nothing left to say. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The only sound in the room was the ticking of the clock on the wall. It felt like time had stopped. Finally, she whispered, "I'm sorry. I never wanted to hurt you." I didn't know how to respond. The words didn't matter. The apologies didn't matter. The truth was already out there, and nothing could change what had already been done. I turned and walked toward the door. "I need space, Claire. I don't know what's going to happen from here, but I can't stay here right now." I didn't wait for her to reply. I couldn't. As I stepped outside into the cool night air, I felt a strange emptiness settle over me. It wasn't just the betrayal. It was the realization that I had been living in a lie for so long. And now, I had to figure out what to do with the pieces that were left. I didn't know where I was going when I left the house. I just knew I couldn't stay there. The world outside felt colder, somehow, as though the air itself had changed in response to the chaos inside me. My mind was still reeling. How had I missed it? How had I been so blind to the cracks in the walls? I drove aimlessly, my thoughts spinning in circles. But every time I tried to focus on the road, my mind would snap back to the same question. Why? I thought I knew Claire. I thought we had something solid. But now I was left with a million unanswered questions. What had she been looking for? What did Lucas offer her that I couldn't? I pulled over to the side of the road, not even sure where I was. The headlights of my car illuminated the trees on the side of the street, casting long shadows across the pavement. I couldn't breathe. The weight of everything, the betrayal, the lies, the doubt, was crushing me. I grabbed my phone, half expecting another message from the unknown number, but nothing. I tossed it onto the passenger seat and slumped back in the driver's seat, staring at the empty road ahead. The silence felt suffocating, like I was waiting for something. For an answer. For closure. I don't know how long I sat there, but eventually, my phone buzzed. It was a new message. I hesitated for a moment before opening it. "She's still lying, Jon. You don't know the half of it. She's been playing you for months. The worst part? You're not the only one. My stomach dropped. What the hell did that mean? I quickly replied, "Who is this?" No answer came immediately, but the tension in my chest grew tighter with every second. I wasn't sure if I wanted to know who this was, but I felt like I had no choice. I needed answers. The reply came after what felt like an eternity. "You don't know how deep this goes. Trust me. You need to find out who else she's been seeing." My blood ran cold. I couldn't breathe. I wanted to scream, to throw my phone out the window, to forget everything. But the words lingered in my mind. There was more. There was more. I stared at the screen of my phone, feeling my hands begin to shake. The message burned into my brain. You need to find out who else she's been seeing. What the hell did that mean? How deep was this really? I had thought I knew everything. At least, I thought I did. But now, I was beginning to wonder if I had even scratched the surface. Who else? Who else? I slammed my fist against the steering wheel, the sound of it echoing in the empty night. My mind was a storm, filled with 100 different thoughts, none of them making any sense. I tried calling Claire. Twice. No answer. The messages I'd sent her went unread. It was like she had completely shut me out, and maybe that was for the best. Maybe she didn't have any more lies to tell me. I was just about to start the car and drive back home when the phone buzzed again. This time, the message was from an unknown number, again. You need to find her journal. It's hidden in her closet, on the left side behind her clothes. That's where it all started. I felt a wave of nausea hit me. Her journal? This person knew things. Things I didn't know. I didn't hesitate this time. My hands were trembling as I threw the car into gear and sped toward home. Every second that ticked by felt like an eternity. The idea of reading her journal, the one place where she had probably written down everything, her thoughts, her secrets, made my stomach churn. But I had to know. I had to understand the depth of this betrayal, and there was no turning back now. I parked outside my house and almost ran to the front door. I paused for a second, standing there in the silence. The house seemed so quiet, too quiet. Everything felt different now, like I was walking into a place where nothing was what it seemed. I opened the door slowly, trying not to make a sound. The house smelled familiar, like it always did, but now it was tainted with the weight of the secrets I had uncovered. I could hear the soft hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen, the ticking of the clock in the hallway. But there was nothing else. Claire wasn't home. She must have gone out again. I moved quickly, heading straight to the closet in our bedroom. My heart pounded in my chest as I slid open the door. Clothes hung neatly, just like she always kept them. I pulled them aside, feeling the cold wood of the closet behind them. There it was, a small leather-bound journal tucked into the corner. I held it in my hands for a moment, staring at it. The weight of it felt heavier than I had imagined. This was it. This was the truth. The words I needed to hear. I opened the journal and flipped to the first page. It was dated months ago, before I had any idea what was going on. He doesn't understand me anymore. Jon doesn't get me. I don't know how to explain it, but I need something more. I need someone who listens to me, who makes me feel alive again. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. The words on the page felt like a betrayal all over again. How long had she been feeling this way? How long had I been blind to it? I kept reading, my eyes scanning over the pages quickly, trying to make sense of the madness. She wrote about her frustrations, about feeling trapped, about how I had stopped being the man she once loved. But what really caught my attention was the entry from just a few weeks ago. Lucas is different. He listens. He understands me. He makes me feel things I haven't felt in years. I know I shouldn't be doing this, but I don't know how to stop anymore. I couldn't breathe. My chest tightened. She had been seeing him for months, and I had no idea. And now I was realizing that everything, had been a lie. I slammed the journal shut, throwing it onto the bed as if the pages themselves had burned me. My hands were shaking violently. I couldn't think straight. My mind was a blur of anger and disbelief. I thought I had known her. I thought we were in this together. But now, I didn't even recognize the woman I had married. And I still didn't know the half of it. I sat on the edge of the bed, the journal in front of me, my mind reeling from everything I had uncovered. Every word on the page, every secret that had been kept from me, felt like a weight I could hardly carry. It was like everything in my life had been turned upside down, and I had no idea how to make sense of it. But then, as I sat there, something shifted. For the first time in days, the storm inside my mind began to calm. I realized that I didn't have to carry this weight alone. I didn't have to drown in the lies and the pain. I took a deep breath and put the journal down. I thought about what was really important. What did I want? What did we need? I needed closure, yes. But more than that, I needed to make a choice. A choice to either let this define me or to use it as a turning point. And in the quiet of that moment, I decided I wasn't going to let this break me. I grabbed my phone and made a call. It was time to face this head-on, and not through text messages or hidden journals. I called Claire. It rang once, twice. Then she picked up. Jon. Her voice was soft, almost uncertain. Claire, I said, my voice steady. I know everything, and we need to talk. There was a long pause on the other end. I could hear her breathing, and for a moment, I almost felt guilty for pushing her into this conversation. But I needed the truth. I needed to hear her side of the story, not just the one I had imagined in my head. I know, she said finally. I've known for a while that this was coming. I'm so sorry, Jon. I've been so selfish. I never wanted to hurt you. But I've been lost, and I didn't know how to find my way back. Her words were filled with sorrow, but there was something else in her voice, an honesty that hadn't been there before. She had admitted her mistakes. And that, in itself, was a first step toward something better, toward healing. I don't know what happens now, I said, the weight in my chest easing just a little. But I need space. I need time to figure things out. For both of us. I understand, she whispered. I'll give you that. Whatever you need, Jon. I'll be here whenever you're ready to talk again. The call ended, and I put my phone down. I didn't know what would happen next, but I knew I wasn't alone in this. I wasn't trapped in a story of lies and heartbreak anymore. I had a choice now, and slowly, over the coming weeks, things began to change. Claire and I spent time apart, working through the mess we had both created. We started going to therapy, individually at first, and then together. It wasn't easy, and there were days when I thought we wouldn't make it. But with each conversation, each step forward, we began to rebuild, not just our marriage, but ourselves. It wasn't perfect. There were still struggles, but we learned how to talk again, how to trust again. And that was something we both needed more than anything. Looking back, I realized that the pain I went through was the catalyst for change. It taught me that even the darkest moments could lead to growth. Claire and I weren't the same people we were before, but we had learned to be better, both for ourselves and for each other. And so, as I sat in our living room one evening, Claire by my side, I smiled. We had come through the storm, and we were stronger for it. Life had a way of throwing curveballs, but it also gave us the opportunity to rewrite our story. Together.